Hello guys, welcome back, and today I'm going to be discussing the biggest losers in the 2019 NHL entry draft. The 2019 NHL entry draft is officially complete, so which teams had a meh and bad draft, and which team lost the draft the most? Watch till the end to find out. Now, while there was also a lot of different winners in the 2019 NHL draft, there was also a lot of different losers. In this video, I go over a few teams I think lost the NHL draft the most. Now, the first big losers that I'll mention are the Detroit Red Wings. They had a very interesting draft, ended up having 11 different selections, getting 5 forwards, 5 defensemen, and 1 goaltender. And when it came to Detroit, the names that they ended up getting are not bad. I like some of the prospects that they ended up getting, but at the positions they got them at are not the greatest, and they ended up having a lot of different reaches. Now, to be fair, I think they had a couple of pretty solid picks. I think guys like Robert Simone and Elvin Graviteh will be very solid prospects in their system. A couple of very solid positions, especially in that second and third round. But there was a few picks that, again, I think were big reaches that I think they could have gotten in the later rounds. Now, the first pick, obviously, 6th overall, ended up being Moritz Seider. I think Moritz Seider is a great prospect, a top 15 prospect in this draft. But picking him in the top 6, I think, is a huge mistake, and one that I think Detroit in the future will definitely want back. There's a couple of more picks that I was kind of against. Guys like Tumisto and Johansson, 2 guys that were picked in the second round by Detroit. I think they could have gotten them a lot later in the draft. I would have said the third round at the most. But they end up going for both prospects in the second round, which, again, I'm fine with you getting those type of prospects. I'm fine with Tumisto. I'm fine with Johansson. But in the second round, again, I think is a little bit of a reach, just like Moritz Seider at number 6. Especially in that 6th position, you got guys like Zegras, Caulfield, Cousins, Krebs, still available at that point, and they went up and got Moritz Seider. While Kirby Dach was a little bit of a wrench in the draft at the 3rd overall position, the biggest wrench in the whole draft was Moritz Seider number 6, having a ton of guys slipped down at that point, but they had so much talent to choose from, and while I like Moritz Seider, in no world should he be a top 6 prospect, even if he is very highly ranked. Now, in my opinion, Steve Yzerman, I think, is the best GM in the entire NHL. What he did with Tampa was absolutely fantastic, but we really haven't seen him do too many moves in Detroit. This was really his first big thing with Detroit, the 2019 NHL draft, and in all honesty, I was really not a big fan of it. Obviously, I think they're one of the bigger losers of the NHL draft. I don't think they're the biggest losers entirely, but of course, I'm just not a big fan of what they did this time around. Now, for the next big losers of the 2019 NHL draft, I have the Tampa Bay Lightning. They had 7 picks in total, getting 4 forwards, 2 defensemen, and 1 goaltender. And some of you guys might know, Tampa is my second favorite team. But when it comes to this NHL draft, there were some pretty solid selections, but also some pretty egregious ones that I will not let go. Now, to be fair, I think Tampa had a couple of very solid selections. Guys like Maxim Kadjevich in the 3rd round, Maxwell Krause in the 4th round, got guys like Mikhail Shaligin in the 7th round. Some decent picks there for sure. But in that first round, number 27, selecting Nolan Foote, I think, is one of the weirdest picks in the entire draft and one of the biggest mistakes in the entire NHL draft. When it comes to Nolan Foote, when it comes to his brother Cal Foote, he's already a Tampa Bay Lightning prospect, and adding that brother duo, I think, is a decent idea. But when it comes to Tampa, you probably should have gone up and maybe traded for a second round pick, the 40 area, to get a guy like Nolan Foote. I don't think he was going to go in that 27 range, Tampa. I don't think you had any worry at that point, but they end up selecting Nolan Foote with the 1st overall, or the 1st round pick, which I think is just a big mistake in my opinion. You left guys like Arthur Kali off the board, guys like Bobby Brink, also guys like Nicholas Robertson, some fantastic prospect that Tampa just let go entirely, and they get Nolan Foote, which is just, in my opinion, at the most, an okay pick. And yes, I do know that Nolan Foote did play pretty much the entire season with a broken wrist, but even then, I don't see the ceiling when it comes to Nolan Foote as that high, especially compared to some of the other guys that were available at that point. Again, guys like Nicholas Robertson, some fantastic talent still available, and they go for a guy who I think at his peak will be a middle 6 forward. I think when it comes to Nolan Foote, he's a decent player. He's a little bit slow in my opinion. I think he's solid, but in the 1st round, that's not who you take. You don't take the guy who's pretty much a guaranteed NHL player, but not that great, looking at you, boss, or John Beecher at that pick. But when it comes to Nolan Foote, as a Tampa Bay Lightning fan, it's cool will see the brother duo potentially be a thing in the NHL, but at most we'll see them in the next few years, and even then, I don't see it as the great pick compared to some of the guys that they could have gotten at number 27. Now, next up, the next big loser of the 2019 NHL draft, I have the Arizona Coyotes. Now, they ended up having 9 picks in this NHL draft, 7 forwards and 2 defensemen were selected. When it comes to Arizona, I think their picks are okay, but when you have an okay draft, you're usually one of the NHL draft losers. Before we get into the obvious 11th overall pick, I want to highlight a couple of prospects who I think are pretty notable on Coyotes draft board. Now, a couple of decent guys I thought was Matias Macili in the 3rd round, or in the 4th round. Pretty solid prospect there for sure. You also got Valentin Nussbaumer in the 7th round. Pretty solid draft steal right there for sure. I have a couple of guys that I wasn't the biggest fan of. You got John Verasisi in the 3rd round, which is just a meh pick in my opinion at best. And obviously going to the elephant of the room, the 11th overall pick, Victor Soderstrom. I like Victor Soderstrom quite a bit, but kind of like Maurice Seider, I'm just not a fan of this whatsoever. Now, I had Victor Soderstrom as the 13th best prospect in this draft, so I think he should go in that 10 to 15 area. But the problem is that the talent that Arizona skipped out on is exactly the talent that they needed for so long. Now, Victor Soderstrom, I think he's a safe pick. I think he'll be a top 4 defenseman in the NHL, maybe even top 2 if he goes that way. But when it comes to Soderstrom, when it comes to Arizona, I don't think they're going with, I don't think they should go with safe picks. The time for safe picks for them is not here. They need that superstar to go alongside of guys like Clayton Keller as well. Guys like Cole Caulfield, Arthur Kaliev, who would have been a great fit at number 11. Guys like Matthew Boldy even, Peyton Krebs. Some amazing talent. Alex Newhook, who would have been amazing for them too. They passed up on those guys to go for defensemen. And I don't think defense is really their need right now, but they go for that. And I'm going to say it's a bold move, yes, and a good prospect for sure, but exactly not what they needed. And I think that's the problem here with Arizona's entire NHL draft. Next up, the next big loser of the 2019 NHL draft, I have the Ottawa Senators. They had 6 picks in total, getting 3 forwards, 2 defensemen, and 1 goalie. When it came to Ottawa Senators draft, I can list off the bad picks left and right, but when it comes to the big picks, yeah, they aren't anywhere to be found right now. Now, Ottawa was kind of shafted at the start, not having their full overall pick, not having the chance to get a guy like Bowen Byram or Alex Turcotte. That is a huge blow from the Matt Duchene trade, obviously. So this draft was already not looking too good. But they got the 1st round pick from the Columbus Blue Jackets and said, hey, they could have some decent talent in 19th overall. Well, we'll see what they get there, and then they end up selecting Lassie Thompson. Now, I'm a pretty decent fan of Lassie Thompson. I like what he brings, especially offensively. But 19th overall, that big of a reach. You could have gotten Lassie Thompson at 32nd overall, not at 19th overall. The problem with the Ottawa Senators draft is not the guys they got. I think the names they got are a pretty solid haul, but the reaches, almost every single pick it seemed like a very big reach to take that kind of guy. They could have gone in the next round or the other round after that. And that's the problem with the Ottawa Senators draft, is guys like Lassie Thompson at 19, Shane Pinto at 32, Matt Zugard in the 2nd round. Guys like that who would have been available in the rounds to go. They didn't select him then, but they selected him at that point, and that's the biggest problem with their entire NHL draft. Now, moving on to, in my opinion, the biggest loser of the 2019 NHL draft. Some of you guys might not agree, but I have the Edmonton Oilers. They had 6 picks in this draft, 4 forwards, 1 defenseman, and 1 goaltender. And some of you guys already know I'm not the biggest fan of Philip Broberg, but just throughout the draft, they got guys that I personally do not like, and they got them at reaches at the same time. Oh, with the Ottawa Senators, they got some prospects that I'm pretty high on, but they got them at reaches. The problem with the Edmonton Oilers draft is that they reached for prospects, and they reached for, in my opinion, the wrong prospects. Now, at 8th overall, I think the worst draft decision of this entire NHL draft, they selected Philip Broberg. I personally had him as the 28th best prospect in this draft, and you can see a 20-point difference, 20 selection difference. That's not a good decision to be making. We saw some rumors that Philip Broberg is eventually linked to Edmonton in the last couple of weeks from the NHL draft, so it wasn't really surprised that they end up picking Broberg, but it doesn't really make an excuse for how bad of a pick it actually is. The only pick that I kind of like in this draft for Edmonton is Matej Blumel. He is a USHL player, drafted 100th overall. That's a pretty solid underrated pick right there, but the rest of it was just garbage in my opinion. Again, 8th overall Philip Broberg. In my opinion, in no shape or form should he go top 10, but Edmonton decides to take a risk on him for some reason. Now, something I've been stressing quite a bit with Philip Broberg is that he needs a team that has a lot of confidence in him and will develop him right. And I can't think of a worse matchup than Edmonton Oilers drafting him. When it comes to Philip Broberg, he's a project. He's a guy that needs time. But Edmonton has just a track record of rushing prospects and not developing him right. That, I think, is going to be the case with Philip Broberg. I don't know if we'll see any changes there. When it comes to Philip Broberg, he's a guy that needs that development time, needs that time to develop, and I don't think he'll get that with the Edmonton Oilers. And I would have given Philip Broberg maybe a standing chance if he went to a team like Vancouver that has a track record of not just developing prospects, but developing European prospects. But the thing with Edmonton is that they are the complete opposite. They do not know how to handle those type of guys, European prospects at the same time, and that's what I'm most concerned about. I'm already not the biggest fan of Philip Broberg, but him going to Edmonton, I think, is just a terrible idea. It's going to be a trap for him. I personally hope he ends up being something decent for Edmonton. I hope Edmonton doesn't screw him up, but right now, I just don't have faith in that actually being the case. Now, for my top 5 biggest losers in the 2019 NHL Draft, at number 5, I have the Detroit Red Wings. At number 4, I have the Arizona Coyotes. At number 3, I have the Tampa Bay Lightning. At number 2, I have the Ottawa Senators. And for my biggest loser of the 2019 NHL Draft, at number 1, I have the Edmonton Oilers. But of course, with this video, I need to hear your guys' thoughts down in the comments down below. So let me know, what do you think about my top 5 biggest losers in the 2019 NHL Draft? What do you agree with? What do you disagree with? Let me know. And of course, the question to you, who do you think is the biggest loser of the 2019 NHL Draft? But if you guys want some more Grav videos just like this one, you can click on this card right here to watch my 2019 NHL Draft Round 1 recap. But that'll be it for today, guys. If you guys enjoy, make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit that notification bell if you haven't already. Again, comment down below your thoughts on my biggest losers and who you think lost the most in the NHL Draft. And I'll see you guys in the next video or stream. Goodbye.